And you're welcome back to the Pulse. The Majority Leader, Osei Mensah Bonsu, says he will, from next week, actually communicate to the House the date for the consideration of the controversial e-levy. According to the leader of government business, government is still doing consultations, and a date will be announced shortly after the public engagement. He said this whilst presenting the business statement for next week. Let's now take you live to Parliament now. Parker Wilson is on phone joining us with the latest. So Parker, what more do we know about what will happen next week when the bill is presented to the House?
So, Blessed, you know, Parliament, it's a place where they work with procedures, so they don't spring surprises and they don't introduce things without the knowledge of the MP. So for every week, they try to communicate to the MP what they should expect from the chamber. And what we know is that next week, based on some of these procedures, the leader of the House, that is the majority leader and the leader of government business, will announce the date for the consideration of the e-levy. Now, this is to ensure that the MPs get themselves ready for that particular debate. And I must say that the NDC MPs have been, one way or the other, try to mock the NPP MPs for running away from their own e-levy. And so there was an assurance from the majority leader that there is a public hearing, the town hall meeting that they have, but the consultations are still ongoing. So they are just about ending the consultation, wrapping up with the consultation, and that is when they have been able to now determine a specific date for the consideration of the e-levy. So next week, it is the expectation that the majority leader will communicate to the House exactly when members of Parliament will congregate to debate the controversial e-levy. But he is certain that by the end of this first meeting, the House will debate, or they will table the e-levy before the House for them to debate. But I must say that the e-levy hasn't been withdrawn from Parliament. The e-levy bill is still in Parliament. What the government seeks to do is to amend the rate, the charge from 1.75% to 1.5%. So that is the amendment that we know that government will be amending for the e-levy. So we are expecting that next week, when he comes to the House, he will give us a date for the consideration of the e-levy.
And what's minority saying about this?
Well, they didn't really have any concern about it because for the last 3 weeks now, they've been raising concerns about why the business statement for the week is silent for the e-levy. And so it was a bit of refreshing to them when the majority leader finally said that next week he will communicate to the House when they will be taking the e-levy. So they are well prepared, but their position still remain unchanged that if they introduce the e-levy, they will still vote massively against the levy.
And how about the numbers in Parliament?
Well, as we know, the Supreme Court has ruled, paving way for whoever sits in the chair, be it the first or the Speaker of Parliament, or even any member who mounts to the chair, to equally partake in the votes during the consideration of the e-levy and other matters. But the only challenge for the NPP now is they do not have two of their members around. It is the expectation of the NPP caucus that by the time they introduce the e-levy before the House, Dominic Kwabena MP, Sewa Joasafo, should be around, and one of their members who we know well will also be around, the Chieftaincy Minister. We are told that he is not well, he's indisposed at the moment. So that'll be the challenge. And the law is clear that when a motion is, there's a tie, the motion is lost. So if it's 137, if the NDC manages to get their 137 in the chamber and vote in the negative, and MPP also gets their 137, including the Deputy Speaker who will be voting in this debate or this decision making on the e-levy, they also have 137. And that means the motion has been lost. They would have to go back and come back again with the e-levy. So it will be quite challenging if Ajosafo is not around and Kojo Kum is also not present to partake in this exercise.
What more has been happening in the House?
just before Parliament adjourned for next week, there was a bit of a back and forth. I mean, tempers were a bit high, near war of words between the Member of Parliament for Tamale North constituency and the Supreme MP, Eugene Bachi MP. And basically because the Tamale North MP, being an NDC MP, had raised concerns about quorum at some point within the meeting. Around 1:11 p.m., he raised concerns about lack of quorum to transact business. And per the standard orders, if you read Order 48.3, it is clear that after a member raises the issue of quorum, the Speaker would have to give a 10-minute interval for the bell to be rung for members of the House to congregate in the chamber or converge in the chamber. Unfortunately, close to about 50 minutes, the First Speaker had not ruled on the matter of the quorum. But at the time, the Roads Minister was in the chamber answering some questions from the Tonon MP. But the Tamale North MP, Alhassan Sweeney, sought to obstruct and indicate to the House that I have raised the matter of quorum. And for the past 40 to 50 minutes, the Speaker hasn't ruled. That a bit angered the Subin MP, who equally engaged in an exchange of words between him and the Tamale North MP. In fact, the Speaker had to instruct them to sit down. They were far apart from each other and throwing, the words, I mean, name calling and all of that. And it was a very unhealthy situation, quite a nasty situation. And the MPs who contributed after asked the Subin MP to withdraw. However, he didn't withdraw some of the words he used on the Tamale North MP. So the Tamale North MP was now forced to stage a walkout. He actually boycotted the proceedings and left the chamber just because he's been ignored by the Speaker. And so this went on for a little over an hour.
All right.
After the Speaker realized that probably the MPs have asked all the questions they have to ask, then he decided to again sit for the day.
We'll be on the lookout for what happens next week. Parker Wilson giving us the latest from Parliament.